Swimming in a pool versus swimming in a triathlon in the open water are two very different experiences. Now, if you only ever swim in the pool, you could be in for a shock on race day. So today I'm going to guide you through some of those differences and how to best prepare.
In the pool, you've got clear, calm water, lane lines, and a water push-off every 25 to 50 meters. In the triathlon, though, you're dealing with open water, chop, waves, and poor visibility. And even if you did have clear water, there's no lane line to look at anyway.
Yeah, I mean, in the pool, you literally have a black line that you can follow, whereas in the open water, you're having to sight, meaning you have to lift your head or your eyes out of the water to sight and see where you're going every few strokes. Where's that buoy? Where's that landmark?
And of course, that's before you get to the start. In a pool, you got a lane to yourself. In the open water, you could be bumping shoulders with dozens, maybe even hundreds of other athletes. There's going to be kicking, bumping, and just general chaos.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we haven't scared you off, but I think you get the picture. But the really nice thing is you can actually practice and prepare for much of this actually in the pool. So today we're going to run you through some of those differences and how you can prepare. Right, so one of the main differences between elite triathletes and elite pool swimmers who race over longer distances is their arm turnover. Now, typically we'll see triathletes with a slightly higher arm turnover or stroke rate, and this is due to disturbance of the water in an open water setting. Now, of course, a lot of our speed when swimming actually comes from our catch and the pull phase of the stroke. Now, of course, if that water is moving in the open water, it can be hard to get that catch. Throw into that, swimmers around you might be disturbing the water even more or even knocking you, and you could completely lose traction through that very valuable phase of the stroke. Now, actually, this is something that I struggled with when I first came over to triathlon. I came from quite a high-level swimming background, and in theory, should have been leading swims out. But I really struggled initially, and that's because as I was reaching for these lovely, long, powerful strokes, I would get knocked or I'd lose that traction of the water, and it's such a long time until the next stroke comes around. So a way around this and to maintain your speed is, as we mentioned, to increase your arm rate. And to do this, you want to put through a fraction less power through each of your strokes, but with a quicker arm rate. That means that if you do lose traction or you don't have quite a strong pull, you know the next arm stroke is coming through nice and quickly. So how do you do this? Well, firstly, this doesn't mean just simply forgetting about your catch altogether. It's still really important. So a really good drill to work on this is the water polo drill. Swim with your head up for 6 strokes. By holding your head up, your body will naturally want to sink. Now, to keep you higher in the water, you will need to increase your stroke rate and get a good catch at the front of the stroke. As soon as the hand comes over and enters the water, catch and through to the pool. Do 6 strokes water polo, head up, then head back in normal swimming for 6 strokes, then repeat.
Of course, to navigate an open water swim course, what you're going to need to do is some sighting, which is something you absolutely don't need to do in the pool. And to do sighting, well, what you need to do is lift your head. And any lift of your head is going to cause your body position to change, which is why it's worthwhile practicing in the pool so you can do it as seamlessly as possible. The best way to sight is to lift your head up as you're catching and pushing down on the water at the front of your stroke. This provides an ideal time to lift your head, but rather than lifting your whole head out of the water, you should lift just your eyes out enough to see where you're going. Too much lift of the head, and you will really feel your legs wanting to sink. Remember, we're trying to limit that as much as possible. When recovering arm comes over, use this as your cue to turn your head to the other side and take a breath, creating one seamless motion. You can and should practice this in the pool. You can put a bottle at the end of the lane as something that you need to look at, or some other object that is always there. And don't underestimate this. In the open water, you may need to sight as often as every 6 to 10 strokes, and if the sighting is bad or visibility is bad and you can't see that buoy, you may have to do it even more often than that. So don't underestimate how much you should practice this in the pool.
Right, let's address the recovery part of the stroke, the bit above the water. Now, not all triathletes have a slightly straighter arm recovery. Some call it windmill arms. It's not the prettiest, and I'm afraid to say I have unintentionally adopted this windmill technique over the years. Now, it isn't actually something I set out to do. It kind of happened naturally as I was trying to increase my arm rate when swimming, but also to avoid the chop on the top of the water or allow me to get closer to other swimmers and get a good draft off them and maintain my speed. And as a result, I end up with this straighter arm recovery. Is this something that I suggest you should do? No. As I mentioned, this is something that's happened naturally for myself. I haven't set out to do this. In fact, I would rather you focused on a good technique, dial that in, and you never know, with time, you might just naturally find you start doing this yourself too.
Another thing to think about is your breathing. When you're out in the open water, the side you breathe on may be affected by a chop or the glare or just a splash from another swimmer, and you may prefer to breathe to the other side. But if you never practice this, this can be really uncomfortable. So practice it in the pool. Now, you don't have to breathe bilaterally, swap in every 3 strokes or every 5 strokes or anything like that. You can simply breathe all to one side on the one way up the pool and all to the other side on the other way down the pool. And just practice it enough that you get comfortable being able to switch to the other side if you're forced to on race day without completely derailing your race day swim.
Right, let's discuss your leg kick then. Now, a good leg kick actually comes from the hips, not the knees. That said, you should have a soft bend in the knee to make sure you're getting a nice propulsion all the way through the leg kick. Now, for triathlon, the leg kick is mostly there for balance and to help with the rotation in your stroke, but minimal effort on your parts. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean you don't kick or you should never kick in your training. If you can make your kick as effective as possible for minimal effort, you will go faster, and particularly important at the start of a race when you're trying to get clear water, perhaps that mass start and then melee, that kick can be a really good way of accelerating away from other people quickly. Now, a really good drill for this, rather than just simply kicking up and down, holding onto a kickboard, is actually doing a drill called 3 swim 6 kick, which really helps to connect the entire stroke. So for this, simply take 3 full strokes, and then on the third, lay out on your side. Kick for 6 kicks, and then as you're about to start your first stroke, think about using your kick to bring that stroke and rotation in. You can even progress this to 1 swim 6 kick.
And one final thing to mention, pace change. In the pool, when you're doing reps, it kind of pays to have an even pace. However, in a race, you're often going to need to change your pace regularly within that race. You're going to start really fast so you can break away from the chaos or get on some good feet. You may have to put a surge to get around a buoy and avoid some traffic, or maybe even a surge to get onto someone's feet or to get away from someone touching your feet. And this needs practice. So in the pool, make sure you're practicing this. You could do this as a specific session where you do maybe a fast 50 into a steady 300 or something like that. Or you can simply just play with your speed during your longer intervals. But you definitely should practice this in the pool.
Yeah, and it's easy to think that swimming is swimming, but actually it was something that surprised me when I came into triathlon, just how different it feels. Now, don't be worried, you can practice a lot of this in the swimming pool. You don't need to necessarily be going in the open water regularly, but it is helpful. We do recommend that if possible. Now, I hope today has been helpful. If you've got any more questions, drop in the comment section down below, or let us know about your struggles or things that you found have really helped.
Thanks for watching, and happy swimming.